everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. I'm James Bonilla, Academic Director for Global Language Training. We're waiting for the rest of the people to join in. I see some familiar faces already. Let's see, hello, Natalie, how are you? Okay. Galen, how are you? Good to have you back. Maxine, hello. Giselle, hello. All right, so Oliver, Pepe, how are you? Welcome back.
Hi, James. How are you?
Great to see you again. All right,
Nice to be here.
Right. So sorry for making you wait today. I was 1 minute late, but it happens. I was having a cup of coffee and then I realized, oh my God, it's time. So here we are. No harm, no foul. All right. So today we're going to be talking about one that a lot of people have asked me about, and it's the topic of assessment and evaluation. And before we even get into that, um, we need to understand that when we speak about assessment and evaluation, there are different names for it. I mean, different experts or the different streams of research are referred to them with different terminology. So we're going to see assessment as formative assessment or assessment for learning or assessment as learning. And we're going to see evaluation as summative assessment or assessment of learning or evaluation or so on and so after. Okay? Just so we have that clarification. All right, so without further ado, let's get into the presentation. I chose a specific quote today to begin so we can get a better idea of what assessment and evaluation are. Okay. Now, of course, this is not going to be all about theory and whatnot. I'm just going to give like 10 minutes of basic theory so we understand what we're talking about. And then I'm going to show you a whole bunch. And when I mean a whole bunch is that this time I got you a whole bunch of really cool resources that you can use for both assessment and evaluation, or assessment for learning or assessment as learning, whichever you may want to call it, all right? So I'll start with this reflection. When the cook tastes the soup, that's assessment. When the customer tastes the soup, that's evaluation, okay? So that's a pretty good way of understanding it. When you're assessing your students, this is an ongoing continuous process in which you are basically keeping track of what their strengths and weaknesses are, opportunities for improvement. And that's why it's also called assessment for learning, because that's when you make all the different adjustments, right? So you don't wait until the end of the process, until the evaluation part, to basically say, oh, well, you failed. I've always compared that to a doctor that doesn't really follow up on his patient. And at the end, basically says, well, the patient died, I mean, he didn't make it. But what did you do? Well, I basically, tested his vital signs at the end, and he was dead. So this is a pretty good analogy. I mean, it sounds funny in a really messed up kind of way, but there's a lot of educators that have, that sort of view on what evaluation is, and they don't really pay too much attention into assessment. So things that we need to remember are that assessment is ongoing. We are constantly assessing our students. Even when I give a conference and I look at you guys and I look at your reaction, guys and gals, I am assessing the situation. I'm trying to figure out, am I going on the right track? Am I giving the right information? Are people falling asleep on me? Then when we get, the feedback and the questions, that's when I get an idea of how things are going on. And one of the things you're going to notice about today is that I added all the web addresses to all the resources. Why? Because that was one of the things that I was able to assess during last webinar when somebody mentioned, well, when I try to access the web pages, I don't always get the same results as you do, James. So could you please give us the addresses? So before we continue, I would like to invite you to grab, a pad or a piece of paper or a notebook or something to write with. Very good, Pepe. You're prepared. So that way you don't have to wait 2 or 3 weeks for the webinar to be uploaded, or you don't have to write me, although I always welcome you to write me if you want to. And Pepe, thank you very much for the review, by the way. That was really cool of you. Thank you. And yeah, I pay attention to these things. I do follow up on these things. So that way that you'll have, direct access to the resources, because I put together over 20 different web pages for you guys to play with today. All right. Now, assessment is always positive. You're always trying to reinforce the positive things on the student. You're trying to stay away from the negative and whatnot. Assessment is individualized. You're telling each one of your students what they need to improve on. Assessment is not good job, keep going, or you need to study more. No, I mean, when you get feedback, and that's the fourth part, when you provide feedback on that individualized assessment, you have to be specific as to what the student needs to do to improve, or to basically go on a path that is going to help him or her, get better, or basically overcome any obstacles. Evaluation provides closure. We always do it towards the end. It's judgmental. I'm not saying this in a bad way, but it gives a judgment. Pass or fail. This is the score that you got. This is your final score. This is where you're going to be placed next period, next year, next semester, whatnot. You're going to be on the honor roll. You're going to have an excellent. You're going to have a good. You're going to have very good. So it is a judgment. And evaluation is always applied against the standards. Whatever standards are set are the ones that you have to follow in order to apply that evaluation. It has to be based on the contents, and it has to be based on the curriculum and what the institution believes. Or even you as a private teacher, you have to evaluate based on the levels of skill or the standards that you set up from the very beginning of the course. And also, evaluation shows shortfalls, which help you plan better for next term, which help you understand, as much as, or as good as your ongoing assessment may have been, during the evaluation process, you will find shortfalls. That's why some people tell me, well, I'm against evaluation. No, don't be, because both are necessary. I'm against evaluation alone. But assessment and evaluation, they have to work together. They both require criteria. In other words, you're going to have, clear, standards, whether you call it rubrics or whether you call it, what it is that you're looking for, or minimum score, or minimum level of competence or skill. Yes. It uses measures. And normally in the United States, we use letters, A plus, A minus, B, C, et cetera. Or in other countries, you're going to use percentages, or you're going to grade, from 1 to 10, from 1 to 5, from 1 to 100, and are evidence driven. So this is how you evidence that the process has shown the results, or has delivered the results that you were looking for, right? Now, what are the main characteristics of assessment, or assessment for learning, or formative assessment? Well, as we said before, and we looked on the Venn diagram, it's ongoing. It's tied to the learning outcomes, provides information that informs decisions about planning and instruction, and allows instructors to provide immediate descriptive feedback, that gives learning. And that's why we call it also assessment or learning. I'll give you a couple of minutes there to finish copying, all right? So you don't have to rush. So again, let me go over this. Ongoing, it means it is permanent, is directly related or tied to the learning outcomes. It provides information that informs decisions about planning and instruction. In other words, you make changes along the way. That's what assessment is all about. And allows instructors to provide immediate descriptive feedback that gives learning. And that's what I said about descriptive feedback. For example, if I say, okay, Maria, you're doing very well. You're really improving. We need to work on your organization. You're writing these very good essays, these very nice essays. And I noticed that in your paragraphs, you have a thesis statement, and you have evidence, and you have your transition statement. But we got to work on your introduction and your general organization. That's, feedback. That's feedback that is actually going to help. Okay. All right. Moving along. Now, what are the characteristics of evaluation, or the main characteristics of evaluation? Well, evaluation is also tied to learning outcomes, because everything, the whole process is tied to the learning outcomes or standards or learning objectives or whichever it is that you call, in your particular context. Why? Because that's the backbone of your curriculum. Is the backbone of your lesson plan. I mean, it has to be tight. If you notice, when you turn in your lesson plans to us, the first thing that you got to tell us is what your objective is going to be, okay, or your learning outcome. Otherwise, I mean, what is the purpose of your lesson in the first place? Now, opposite from assessment, evaluation will always occur at the end of a learning theme or cycle, whether you call it a midterm exam or a final exam, final evaluation, final project, thesis, even at university, we have to go to these things. It is a part of life. And as much as I'm a little bit apprehensive about endorsing evaluation, the reality is that we are evaluated constantly at our jobs as teachers. There is a performance evaluation. Uh, Students give feedback on our performance. We basically our future on and on and on and on depends on the results of those evaluations. So I mean, we still have to work with that, unfortunately. And by saying unfortunately is that I have a different way of thinking regarding assessment and standardized evaluation, but it is what it is, and we have to adapt to it. Now, evaluation is used to evaluate whether learners have achieved the learning outcomes and to what degree, as we said before, to what percentage of accuracy. And that's why we use the letter system. That's why we use the percentage system. That's why basically we need, like I said, we need like this standard score, so to speak. And the one problem that I have with scores is that it tends to polarize students. It sometimes turns into a competition. This one is better than this other one. This one is more competent than this one. And I don't believe that. I believe that student has a different learning rhythm, different qualities. And I'm coming from learning style, from multiple intelligences. But again, I mean, this is something that we have to deal with. And it is what it is, right? And finally, it is used to make decisions about learners' next placement. So if I'm working at an English institute per se, um, well, the evaluation will let me know if the student is going to continue on to the next level, or maybe is going to jump up one level if he has like excellent results, or if he's going to stay in that level. Same thing at university, same thing at school or any educational environment. Okay. All right. So now that we have clarified the differences, sorry, between assessment and evaluation, and also remember, because you might see different terminology during the presentation, let me recap on that. Assessment is also known as assessment for learning or assessment as learning or formative assessment. Okay. Evaluation has taken on other modern names, sort of summative assessment, for example, or assessment of learning. Okay. So I'm telling you all of this, so if you see these terms, in some of the videos that I'm going to show you today, you don't get confused and you say, well, James was talking about, assessment and evaluation. And here they're talking about summative assessment. Okay, so if we're clear on that, let's move on. So we're going to talk about the best online assessment and evaluation tools for teachers today. Okay, and I'm going to show you some of these tools. And you're going to ask me at the end of the presentation, but which ones were for assessment and which ones were for evaluation? Well, can I use a quiz for assessment or can I use a quiz for evaluation? And the answer is both, depending on the focus that I give to that quiz. A test, a workshop, an essay, any type of evaluative activity or assessment activity can be used for both, depending on the focus that you give it. Normally, assessment tools are the quizzes, assignments, and in-class questions and discussions. And evaluation tools are like the final essays and tests given at the end of a project, course, semester, unit, program, or school year. So before we get into these tools, do understand that you can use them for both, okay? It all depends on what kind of focus you're going to give to these things. Okay? I'll give you a second there to take your notes. Excuse me. Okay. Okay, let's move to the first one. I'm going to show you my 5 favorite tools, just to give you an idea. But I'm also going to give you information about 15 other different tools. But you'll need to go in there and explore and play with them and whatnot, okay? The first one is called Socrative. www.socrative.com or httplm, / well, it's socrative.com. You can also Google it and you'll find it, very easily. Now, Socrative basically makes allusion to Socratic circles, or discussion circles. Some of you might be familiar with this. Today I decided to basically take advantage of some, existing multimedia, basically do the job for me and make it easier for you to understand. Oh, wait a second. I just know that I made my typical mistake. When I share the screen, I forgot to share the sound. It's sort of like the tradition now in these webinars. I do it all the time. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, Natalie's laughing. She's like, oh, come on, James, really? Again? All right, here we go.
Welcome to Socrative, your
Okay.
classroom tool for fun and effective formative assessment. Socrative enables you to quickly engage and assess students on any device and operating system during class. Socrative activities visualize students' answers in real time and collect detailed reports of past activities. Here we have our teacher view on the left and our student view on the right. Directly from your teacher dashboard, you can start a quiz, send a quick question or polling activity, deliver a quiz as a fun space race game, or give an out-the-door exit ticket. Quick questions are perfect for no-prep activities. As students respond to the question, the teacher can see in real time what the students are thinking. Have students ask their own questions, or use short answer quick questions to allow students to give authentic sentences or opinions anonymously. Then have a discussion of the results or ask more quick questions. It's your choice. Create your own assessments and save them in your Socrative account for anytime use. Then share them with your colleagues and other Socrative users around the world. As students complete an activity, you'll see their graded responses populate your live results table. The rows show each student's results, and each column shows how the whole class is performing on that question. Click into any question to see a detailed view of the responses. Live results allow you to see which questions you need to go over with the class, or decide how to group students for review based on their results. Run your quiz as an exciting space race to create a fun assessment game that students can play in groups or individually. Students love the friendly competition, and you'll still receive the graded report at the end to see detailed views of your class's performance and understanding. As you can see, Socrative is a versatile platform with many great features to support your unique teaching style. We are here to help you save time and visualize student understanding. Be creative and have fun. Sign up.
Okay, so one of the things about Socrative, and that caught my attention, is that you have, as always, you have paid plans, but most of the plans are actually free. And all you got to do is click over here where it says sign up for free. Okay. Choose a plan, and you have the free plan. And of course, if you work for an institution, maybe they can invest for you. Or if you want to invest on one of these tools, it's not that expensive. When you talk about $60 a year, you're talking about $5 a month, for example, and you get much more. My advice with these tools is always play with them with the free version first. See how you like them, see how they adapt to what you're doing. And what you want to do is basically you sign up, create your new account, yes, and then you're good to go. You can also sign up, which I did, and I don't understand why it's not going into my profile. It will give you the option to sign up using Google, for example, if you have a Google account or a Gmail account, right? And that might work for you, right? So that's Socrative. Again, really cool tool. I'm going to try to log in, sign in with Google. Here we go. Choose your account. You wait, and you basically have to create, an email and a password, and that's it. You're good to go. All right. We're not going to go through all the steps. It's already 9:22, and I have a lot to show you today. But again, it's very easy. It's very user-friendly, and you can find a lot of instructive, videos on Socrative on YouTube. Basically, look it up on YouTube, and you'll find a lot of cool stuff. All right. Okay. Back to the presentation.
Today, for free at Socrative.com.
All right. My next favorite tool, believe it or not, is called Google Forms. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but this is actually a tool that has always existed for a long time. It's 100% free. There's no fuss, there's no muss, and let me show you how it works. Here in the video, they're going to show you an example of how to give party invitations, but I'll explain in a second why I chose this video in particular. As a teacher, you'll be able to see the connection and the potential of the stuff that you can do with these things, all right?
Suppose I'm planning a surprise birthday party and want to ask friends if they can come. Let's use a Google form. When you first create a form, you can choose a name and a theme for your form. I'll go with the balloon theme for this. This here is the form editor. We've got a title already, and here we can add a description to the form. Below, we can work on what questions to ask. So, question 1, can you come to the party next Saturday? If you need to clarify a question, you can add descriptive text here, but I think this question's simple enough. Then, down here, choose a question type. There are a few different options to choose from. I won't go over all of them now, but you should play around with them sometime. Let's choose multiple choice. When you're done with the question, click Done.
Whoa, sorry. Something happened here. There we go.
All right, question 2. To add it, click the Add Item button here. And let's ask, what kind of cake should we get? There are lots of different kinds of cake. So we'll make this a text question and let respondents write in their answer here. Click Done, and I've made my second question. You can, of course, add as many questions as you'd like. Now I want to share this form with a friend of mine who's helping to plan the party to make sure I haven't left anything out. To do that, I click File, then Share. If you've used Google Drive before, this should look familiar. From here, I can add my friend Susan. Great. Now, if Susan makes changes to this form, I'll see those changes appear in real time. It looks like she's added a question about ice cream and put it above the question about cake. Cool. Then, to see what this form will look like to our friends, we can click the View Live Form button up here. Very festive. Now let's send out this form. To do that, we scroll to the bottom of the form to this confirmation page section here. To send the form, we click the blue Send Form button. You can copy this link to distribute to your friends. You can share the form via social media here, or you can specify individual recipients. I'll add Susan just to make sure she has this. Cool. As you can see, now that we've sent our form out, we're asked to choose a destination for responses. We can choose to create a new spreadsheet, we can use an existing spreadsheet, or, if we don't want to use a spreadsheet, we can click the Keep Responses Only in Forms button here. If you choose to keep responses in forms, your form's responses will still be saved, and you'll be able to see a useful summary of them. We'll choose to create a new spreadsheet. Now, if we click this View Responses button, we can see a spreadsheet with the responses we've collected so far. Susan must have sent this out to friends because we have a few responses to our form already. Or, if we don't want to view individual responses but would rather get a big picture sense of what people are saying, we can view the summary of responses. To do that, we click the Responses menu, and we choose Summary of Responses. Okay, that completes the tour. Give Google Forms a try. And if you have any questions about anything not covered in this video, you can find an answer in the Google Drive Help Center.
So it's actually, it's a pretty cool tool. It's very user-friendly. And you can use it for personal uses. You can use it for, business uses. If you have like a company or an English institution or whatnot. And in the example, he used party invitation, but what you're going to use is the blank one. And you can basically write a question. What is the difference? Sorry. In assessment and evaluation, right? And you can have your different options. And you can have a paragraph answer, short answer, or multiple choice answer, or checkboxes, drop down, etc., etc. So this is a cool tool to create little quizzes or to create, little discussion forums and whatnot. Maybe I want to have a short answer, right? Because, I want to get my students writing a little bit more and whatnot and this and that. And then I can add, another question and another question over here in this little, icon right here, okay? I can import questions. If I have questions ready on a question bank, I can add an image to this question if I want to make it, more engaging. I can insert a video in there like I do in my presentations. If this is going to be maybe a listening comprehension, item, okay? I can add another question. Again, I can make my answer multiple choice question. And once I have it ready, I can simply click on send, right? And I can either send it, to my students, or I can create a link and send this link to my students. My students can actually go in there and, do the questionnaire and fill out the forms. And then I get all the feedback, of my students' results on a, Excel spreadsheet or the different options that you saw. So this is actually a pretty cool tool, user-friendly, 100% free. And, I was surprised because personally, I didn't know about these things. Where again, cool thing about doing these webinars is that I have to do a lot of research. And I was like, my God, I looked on my Google, tools, and it was there. It's been there all the time. And some of these tools have even, made me question myself, should I continue using PowerPoint for these presentations? And you'll see why in a second, because I found some really, really, really cool things that we're going to see. So let's move right along. So again, this is basically called Google Forms. And to access it, you can Google it, or you can go over here, google.com/forms/about, okay? All right. Tool number 3. Mentimeter. Now, this one is particularly cool. And this one I want you to pay close attention to.
Mentimeter is an easy-to-use, powerful interactive presentation tool. All you have to do is create a question, then press Present. The audience then uses their smart device to enter the presentation code and submit their answer. With Mentimeter, you get unbiased results visualized in a way that encourages reflection and sparks discussion. The quiz competition is a great way to introduce fun into a presentation using gaming elements such as points and a leaderboard. In this video, I will go through how to create a quiz competition, explain the point system, show how the leaderboard slide works, and of course, go through some of the customization options that go with it. First, create a new slide. Then, choose one of the quiz competition questions. Either select answer or type answer. Select answer allows participants to choose between options that have been predefined. Type Answer allows participants to type in their answers. First, choose a Select Answer question type. Next, enter your question. Then enter the possible answers. Finally, mark which answer or answers are correct. You can change the time to answer if you want, either to give your audience more time to think, or to add an extra stress element to make sure they stay on their toes. There are 2 different modes for each quiz question. Faster correct answers get more points. Participants try to answer as fast as they can and are rewarded between 1,000 and 500 points for a correct answer, depending on how long it takes them to submit their response. By unchecking this, all correct answers get 1,000 points. This is ideal for situations where you want to promote accuracy rather than speed.
You can add background music to your slides to give your quiz more energy.
Next, let's create a type answer quiz question. Start by creating a new slide. This time, choose the type answer question type. Next, enter your question. Then, the correct answer or answers, making sure to define any similar answers or obvious spelling mistakes that could occur. There is no need to worry about capital letters, as these are automatically accepted. Again, you can choose how points are awarded, as mentioned earlier, and also adjust the time to answer if you expect long answers. The leaderboard slide shows the current points totals of the top participants taking part in the quiz. You are able to choose where and when to show the leaderboard by adding, deleting, and moving the slides to the desired location or locations. To start the quiz competition, press the Present button located at the top right of the window. You can then see participants start connecting to the quiz. At least one person needs to be connected to the presentation in order for you to start the quiz. Then start the countdown and the game is on. As soon as the countdown runs out or everyone has voted, the results and the correct answer will be shown. The audience can also see if they've answered correctly on their phones. For information on the quiz competition and for more helpful videos and articles on other Mentimeter features, please visit mentimeter.com.
Okay, so let's visit mentimeter.com. There we go. So again, you have different features. You have different pricing plans. Again, I chose to get started. I chose the free plan, right? It limits your audience basically, but to play around with it and to have like short classes, sizes, maybe 5-10 students, it works just fine. Again, it's mentimeter.com. And you can create your own presentations, right? By simply going to new presentation, presentation name, assessment, create the presentation. And then what's really cool is that you can create just about all kinds of question types. You can create, quick forms, and quiz competition, which is what he was showing us, on the video, is right here. So you can have multiple choice quiz competitions, or you can have, type answer quiz competitions. Or you can simply create presentations and integrate all of this. Again, this is a tool that you need to play with. You need to play around with this thing to get familiarized with it, okay? All right. On to the next one. The next one is one that I particularly loved, and I was tempted to use it on this presentation, and I might use it on next presentation, but I was afraid of what the results might be. I'll explain to you why. So on the video, we're going to see a guy giving face-to-face presentation or a conference, but it works just the same online, okay?
So you're giving a presentation and you want to get some feedback from your audience. Show of hands. How many of you signed up for office hours? 1, 2, 14, 50. That's not very accurate. Old voting methods take far too long, and expensive voting systems like this one, well, they're difficult to set up and don't allow for audience comments. Hello? Oh, nope, nothing. Introducing Poll Everywhere. Through a simple web interface, Poll Everywhere lets you collect instant audience feedback. Just type in a question, and your audience can respond using laptops, tablets, or even mobile phones. Even your crappy flip phone. Hey guys, what do you think of my presentation so far? Is it A, amazing, B, incredibly amazing, or C, not that great? To respond, just text message the number on screen. Or use a custom URL to respond in the web app. You can even use Twitter if that's what you're into. As people respond, results are embedded instantly into your presentation, in real time. Seriously, guys? You can also ask open-ended questions. What is your favorite part of my outfit? Poll Everywhere also lets you customize the look of your charts to wow your audience. And for all you spreadsheet nerds out there, you can even create segmented crosstab analytics. The best part about it is you can try it today for free. So how excited are you guys about Poll Everywhere? A, can't contain it, or B, not at all? Kaboom! Instant audience feedback. Poll Everywhere.
Okay. So it's a really cool tool. If you want to know how your students are doing during the presentation or during the class, if you want to share maybe discussion questions, if you want to shoot out, open questions out there, like he said, maybe get, audience participation while you're on the presentation. And the cool thing is that everything, happens in real time. Let's take a look at it. As he said, 1 second, please, Windows. You do have, basically a free access to this application, okay? And all you need to do is create. You can create multiple choice. You can create a word cloud, questions and answers. You can create a poll with clickable images so that people can actually, just basically select the image based on the response that they want. You can create a survey, open-ended questions like he showed, or you can actually create competitions. So it's a really awesome tool. Again, like everything in life, these tools will require you to actually go in previously and to play around with them and prepare, your presentations, right? You can actually use other presentations that are already, set up for you. I prefer to create my own, but it's going to make you look very professional, and your presentations will be saved. Because like everything else in life, as you use the tool over and over and over again, then you're going to have all of these tools at hand. And in the future, it's going to really save you a lot of time. They're also great for grading. They're also great for, the sky is the limit. Use your imagination, okay? Again, polleverywhere.com. Very simple. Last but not least, it's one of my favorites. I've used it with you guys during my past webinars. I love it because of its simplicity. I was tempted not to show it on this presentation because I said, well, most of my audience over here has actually played Kahoot with me, but we may have some people in the audience today. So let's just go through a little overview of what Kahoot is again.
Hi, we're Kahoot. We're on a mission to make learning awesome. Our game-based learning platform is used by millions of people all over the world. Teachers, students, company employees, and lifelong learners. Kahoot makes it easy to create fun learning games or trivia quizzes in minutes, anytime, anywhere. We call them Kahoots. It works for any subject, in any language, on any device. You can also discover and play existing games. There are millions of Kahoots in our library. Kahoot can be played in a live setting with questions on a big screen, or on your mobile device where you see questions and answers on one screen. As well as in schools, Kahoot is played in companies, at events, and even parties to make learning awesome. Sign up today at Kahoot.com. Let's play!
Again, very easy. You simply go to kahoot.com. And we've been here before. We looked at the different Kahoots. As I said before, you can play with existing Kahoots or you can create your own Kahoots. It's very simple. It's very user-friendly. I already have some Kahoots, created, as you know. And then, you send your students to kahoot.it. Second, please. Actually, this one before. Boom. Oops, not letting me continue over here for some reason. I think I may have accidentally have clicked on something else. So let's just access it again. It's very simple. You Google Kahoot, you go to Learning Games, you sign in, or you create, your login. I'm gonna have to use, I guess, my alma mater here, or it won't let me continue. Oh, 372. This is odd. Oh, school educator there. All right, finally let me in. Okay, so I have my own Kahoot. As you see, my username is Prof Bonilla, as in Professor Bonilla. You can upgrade your plan. You don't really need to, and you can look for different Kahoots. Okay, you can create your own Kahoots, like it says right here. Right. So it's kind of easy. It's very user friendly. We played these things before. Again, you need to go in there. You need to look at the different options that you may have, and so on and so after, and have some fun with this tool. Okay. Okie dokie. Now, let's talk about more online assessment and evaluation tools for teachers. I'm not going to go into detail into these ones because I just wanted to give you an idea of how these things work at the beginning of the presentation. And as always, for time limitations, I would love to explore each one of these tools with you guys, but get ready to copy, all right? Answer Garden at answergarden.ch, yes, it's a real-time polling and brainstorming tool. It works a lot like the one that I showed you a few moments ago. Okay. Take a moment to copy that down. Remember the tool that I showed you was called Poll Everywhere? This one is similar. We have back channel chat, and it's a teacher moderated Twitter type assessment tool for education. So if you're into Twitter, I'm not, but if you're into Twitter, you're going to love this one in particular, right? The web address is www.backchannelchat.com. Chatzy, chatzy.com with Z. You can let students chime in with questions or opinions during an actual lecture. So let's say, for example, somebody asked me on past webinars how come we didn't have, the chat, activated. And you may have the limitation that I have where as a company policy, we don't use the chat. Well, you can use Chatzy to get around that. So maybe students can access you on your cell phone, yes, or on a tablet or a parallel device, or on your computer screen as well, without you having to give them your personal contact, information or stuff like that, or without you having to have them, access your WhatsApp. So through Chatzy, you can actually chat with them and, keep one thing distance from the other. Kugel, like Google, but this would be Kugel. It's a mind mapping tool that lets you get a handle on student thinking. So if you like working with mind maps, and that's one of my favorite tools, one of my favorite software tools to use in my class is called CMap Tools. which allows me to create, conceptual maps. This is pretty similar, but it's online and it's on real time, okay? And we have eSurvey Creator, where it's like SurveyMonkey, so to speak, but it's a lot friendlier and it's free, where you can create, surveys and questions really fast and really quick. Okay. So I'll go again. Answer Garden at answergarden.ch, backchannel chat at backchannelchat.com, Chatzy at chatzy.com, Google at google.it, and then we have Survey Hero at surveyhero.com. Okay, that's the first batch of 5. Again, I invite you to take the time and explore these things. These things are really cool. And some of these might be right up your alley, some might not be. And the cool thing about having all these choices is that, again, like the name says it, you can choose based on your personality style, based on your teaching styles and whatnot. We have Flipgrid at flipgrid.com. Is info.flipgrid.com. And what this thing does is it lets students make quick videos that respond to teacher prompts. So basically, you may ask them a question, open-ended question, and what they can do is they can answer you, with a short video, giving an oral response. So that'll give them time, to organize the response, to prepare it, and you can share it with the rest of the class. Okay? Formative, goformative.com. You can give live assignments, grade them, and give immediate feedback. This is great for formative assessment, or assessment, if you may want to call it. So ongoing assessment. This one is particularly cool. Lino at en.linoit.com. If you're into sticky notes, I have a lot of friends that like to put sticky notes on the computer. I do have sticky notes on my computer, but they're physical sticky notes. I'm an old-fashioned type of guy. People always make fun of me because if you could see my computer right now, you could see a whole bunch of sticky notes. That also helped me with the presentation as well. And, but this is a sticky note-based virtual blackboard where students can chime in, actually, and they can interact with you. Naiku at naiku.net. You can make quizzes that students can take on mobile devices, which is really cool. We spoke during the class management webinar on how do you control, the use of, mobile devices in your classroom. And this is a cool one, just like Kahoot or just like many of the other tools that I showed you. So instead of fighting against mobile devices, instead of fighting against smartphones, then, now you can actually use them to your advantage, okay? That's another classroom tool. Again, naiku.net. And then you have PeerDeck at peerdeck.com, where you can create interactive presentations and students can actually access and they can take part of and they can interact with you using their smartphones. Again, you got Flipgrid at info.flipgrid.com, Formative at goformative.com, Lino at en.linoit.com. I don't have a problem with that. Naiku at naiku.net and PeerDeck at peerdeck.com. Finally, we have Flickrs at get.flickrs.com. And this is where you can collect formative assessment data in real time with no need for student devices. Okay. I know that sounds weird, but go into it and then you'll understand. It's really cool and very user-friendly. Quizalize, quizalize.com. Here you can actually create homework and quizzes quickly with a fast grading feature. So it grades for you, which is what you want. You want tools that will help you make your job easier, not harder. You got Quizlet. We're at Quizlet.com, where you can develop tests, quizzes, flashcards, and study games for mobile devices. You have Remind at Remind.com. You can send quick texts to students and parents to check for understanding. Now, with Remind.com, it's a really cool feature if you're working with children, because here you can actually connect with parents and you can actually send parents reminders. and you send them an access. Again, avoiding, the need for unnecessary contact through WhatsApp groups and whatnot. So you can create, different networks, and you can have a very good follow-up of what's going on, and also let parents know what's going on with with your students, which is another way of watching your back, if you understand what I'm saying. Okay. And finally, you have Spark Post, and this is an Adobe, actually feature, and it's an app that lets teachers create exit tickets with visuals and graphics. Again, if you're into Adobe, and if you're into like I don't know, graphic design, and this one you want to use only if you're like a little bit proficient, in design tools. Some teachers are more creative than others. So again, get.plickers.com, quizalize.com, quizlet.com, remind.com, and spark.adobe.com. Okay. And carry on. Now, before we go on to the question and final reflections, I found this quote by Clifford Sullivan. This is a teacher at West Virginia Department of Education. He won the Teacher of the Year award. This guy is like really, really innovative. He's a visionary. Okay. And he says, actually seeing and talking to the students through online video calls and communication platforms, so important. Our students can be going through a lot more than we realize being isolated at home. Sometimes the assessment has to be on a level deeper than academics. This is an invitation, as we spoke before, to understand that when we assess students, and that's why assessment or ongoing assessment or assessment for learning is so important, and that we don't only focus on evaluation, because we don't know what our students are going through, and this will affect their performance directly, not having anything to do with their level of skill or with their level of knowledge. So emotional aspects will also, have a huge influence, a huge effect, on student result. Sometimes we need to dig a little bit deeper in there. Being very carefully, of course, being very cautious, being very ethical. Okay? We want to know how students are feeling, how everything is going at home. Are they able to focus on the assignments before we give them assignments? That's another thing. Do they have time to focus on the assignments? As a teacher, you may not come out and ask these questions because it might be uncomfortable, but body language cues can telegraph them at a glance. If you're careful and if you observe your students carefully, and their tone of voice, student that is always very active, and all of a sudden this student is not, asking any questions. It's like Natalie on one of my webinars being completely quiet. That would really worry me. And I would say, Natalie, is everything all right at home? I was going to pick on you, you know that. So, or Peppy, or one of my usuals, or Gayling, or Kadek, anyhow. So you get an idea that something is going on, and you get an idea of, something is odd. So you might want to look into that. So look, it's very easy to assess student progress in a physical classroom, okay, because you have paper tests, you have quizzes, you have spot-on questions, but it's also easy to do it online. And this is a question that people ask me, well, how do I do it online? I don't have the physical quizzes, I don't have the physical workshop. Well, I just gave you a whole bunch of tools. And these tools are so cool that you can actually use them on a face-to-face environment as well, if we ever get back to that, to make your life a lot easier and to make your life, a lot cooler as teachers. And for questions, I see some new people. Welcome. Okay, let's get to it. As always, not everybody at the same time, please. Who wants to start?
I have something.
Lake, welcome back.
Thank
Didn't
you.
see you there for a second.
It's good to be back with everyone.
Great.
My statement is an extension to the end of your presentation about focus. Something personally that I wish that I had learned when I was a child was how to focus in school. Part of this assessment I can see would be for us to provide those resources to the students on learning how to focus through some of those challenges that may arise at home or in their environment. Do you have any feedback on how else we could teach students how to focus from an online setting?
Well, it's the same strategy that we use in a face-to-face environment. A good example would be myself. I'm dyslexic. So you can imagine what school was like for me. Trying to focus, in an environment with 60 students in a classroom, a very restless environment, teachers that did not understand what the concept of dyslexia was. So I was just basically, a troublemaker. And because back then, assessment was something that was not used. People didn't follow up. So you were evaluated at the end, and you were judged based on how much attention you paid or how accurately you answered. So the thing here with these students is first to create that connection with the student. And by connection, I don't mean becoming, best buddies or getting too personal, this and that, but letting the student know that you care about them, that you actually are there, not because you're getting paid, on an hourly wage, but making them feel that they are important and their future is important to you. Getting them to
Yes.
open, to speak to you about what's going on in their lives, to speak to you about what makes them tick, what makes them, anxious, what makes them happy, to
Okay.
create that relatability, from the subject matter into the student's actual life. To ask them actually straight up, so how are you feeling? How is this hitting you? Not being able to go out and play with your friends. How are you dealing with this? How do you feel this online environment? It's all about creating that rapport. All about creating
Okay.
that connection. The same thing that you do in a face-to-face environment, but here you got to be, I mean, get more personal. I like to learn, my students' names. I like to get familiarized with people. I like to learn more about their personalities and remind them that I know. When you acknowledge people by name, and if you notice, I do that in my presentations, and I do it why? It's the same concept. I like to create that bond. I like to create that connection, that people understand that I know that you're there, that you're a human being, that you're a person.
Yeah.
Um, it's just the same concept that I used to teach, staff that I had when I was in the commercial area of academics. And they would call an institution, they would say, yes, hello, may I speak to the coordinator? And I would say, don't do that. Hi, who am I speaking to? Oh, Galen. Hi, Galen. How are you? My name is James. I'm from Global Language Training. How you doing today, Galen? And fine, thank you. What can I help you with? Galen, would you be so kind to tell me, is there an academic coordinator that I could speak to right now? I have this information about international exams, and Galen, feels acknowledged. Feels that I'm treating her like a human being, like just not something over there, just some, image on the screen. And it's the same concept with students. I mean, sales and teaching are not so different. And I like to compare them both. My background actually is commercial. You know, I actually have a master's degree in marketing, believe it or not, and that's how I started my career. And it's all about creating that connection and engaging the person, engaging the student, and
Yes.
then you get wonderful results.
Would you recommend connecting with the students via live chat, as we're calling, and also with those poll ideas?
Yes, of course, of course. I mean, you got to make a combination of both. The polls and the tools that you see will give you a picture of what your students are like and what they like and what they're interested in, as we mentioned before. And once you have that information, that will give you the tools, or it will give you basically what you need to be able to create a stronger connection on how to approach those students when you are live one-on-one.
Okay, great. Thank you for your feedback.
You're very welcome, Blake. Okay, who would like to continue? Melanie, my God, I was wondering where you were. I was looking for you all over the place. Okay, you need to unmute yourself, Mel. Mel, activate your microphone, sweetheart. Okay. We can't hear you. You need to activate your mic. There you go, Mel.
Sorry, I was moving slowly this morning and I had some errands and I hurt my ankle. And
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you okay?
When you're at home, no, well, when you're at home, it's always a perfect storm. Always.
Yeah, well, Murphy's Law, I mean, it
Yeah,
happens.
right.
But I'm so
But
happy
good
to see you
morning.
here.
Nice
Good
to
morning.
see you. Nice to
Yeah,
see you. And
it's not the same without you,
Oh, well, thank you.
welcome back.
It wasn't the same morning without you.
Oh, wow, thank you.
I considered not taking the dog out, but They don't
Hey,
have so
you got to take care of the pooch. The pooch, you know, is, I mean, I love dogs, so you got to take care of them as well. Welcome back.
Thank
All
you.
right, guys. Who wants to continue? Or who wants to ask any questions? Or yes, Lisel.
Hi, James.
Hi, great to have you back.
Hi, yes. Just a quick one. I don't know if you can see. There's one called Quiz Is.
Quizzes.
Quiz Is, yeah.
Is this an
Which is
application?
quite cool.
Okay, is this something that it's only online, or is it something that we can access? Let's see.
Yeah, it's online.
Or is it only on the application store? Let's see.
No,
Is it
no,
like
no,
this?
it's online. Quiz Is. IZZ.
Oh, there.
There we go.
Quizzes.
Yes.
Cool.
All right, awesome.
Also a very cool one. And then just on another point, my daughter's also dyslexic, but she's loved the online schooling, you know, because she's been able to work at her own pace. So
Right. That's fantastic. Well, good for you. Very good for
yeah.
you. Thank you for that. I mean, quizzes. I'm going to
Pleasure.
put on my favorites here. So
Yeah.
as soon as we're done with the presentation, I'm going to play around with it a little bit, because that's the idea. That's what you got to
Yes,
do with these things.
My kids have used it quite a lot at school, and they've thoroughly enjoyed it. So,
Okay, did everybody get that, or did I go too fast? It was QUISSI, no, ZZIS, right? Quizzes. All right, Karen. Thank you, Lizelle.
pleasure.
Okay, Karen, go on.
No, it's just that I didn't get to copy the address of quizzes.
Okay, let's do it again. Very good.
It was a little bit too fast. Sorry.
Yeah, no, don't worry. It's just a bad habit of mine. Here we go. QUIZIZZ.com. All right, Karen, cool. Okay, who wants to continue saying? Come on, guys. Melanie, you want to say something? Okay, hold on. Pepe, let's go with Pepe
No,
first.
wait. I'm a little lost.
Pepe, go on.
James, what about skills assessment? For example, I do selling skills and presentation skills, and that often involves a learner having to do a role play or a presentation, which has been fine face to face, but I haven't yet had the opportunity to do it online, and that's what I'm concerned about, or trying to establish what would be the best way to do that kind of an assessment online.
Well, when you're talking about presentations, you mean like when a student does an oral presentation? Well, I mean, they can do it via Zoom, the way that I'm doing it right now. I mean, you can have them actually set up, a little presentation, send out the invitation, including yourself, all the other students. Evidently, you would handle it the same way that you would handle it, face to face. You would give them the rubric, and you would give them the guidelines, and you would tell them what it is that you're looking for. Or you can use one of those tools that we looked at today. And if you notice, a lot of them said that they were for students to be able to present material. And the same tools that we use, can be used by students as well. Okay. All right, Richard.
Thanks.
You're very welcome, Pepe.
Hello, Daniel. How you doing? Hi, everybody. Well, one of my concerns is, for example, I work with kids, tweens, teens, and adults. And I've noticed that when it's time to do like an online speaking assessment, I'm having problems in connecting with the tweens. Okay, basically on how to motivate them, and for them to being able to feel comfortable, be motivated, and do a good job when it's time for them to do their presentation. And like in their case, I've noticed that they like to turn off their cameras. They try to speak the least as possible as they can. So my concern is specifically with that age. How can I motivate them so they can do a good job when it's time for the assessment?
Well, teenagers will be always teenagers, whether you're face-to-face or whether you're an online environment. Um, we spoke about that on our, just on a close note. It would be good for you to watch our webinar on classroom management online, which is already posted on the webpage. I'll show you how to get there in a little while. But to answer your question, I mean, in a very brief manner, it's all about engaging the student in speaking into something that they're really into. So if I have a young girl, she's 50 years old, and I give her a presentation on the economic aspects of the American Revolution, she's probably going to be like, ugh, I don't want to talk about that, you know what I mean? And, you know, I'm embarrassed. I'm not knowledgeable of the topic. They're very self-conscious about their image, you know, in front of others. But what about if you ask her about Justin Bieber, per se? I mean, after you determine if she loves Justin Bieber or not, and then she'll be, oh my God, Justin, you know, I love it so much. And then you will not get her to shut up. So Justin Bieber is just an example. It's just that I had to, yesterday I was watching this show with my wife, and it was about teenagers and their obsession with this guy and whatnot. First, determine what moves them, what makes them click. Doesn't matter if you're moving away from the curriculum or from the pencil. Right? It doesn't matter if you're moving away from the subject matter or from the learning objectives. Get them to loosen up, sort of like what we do on the warm-ups, you know, on a regular class. The first presentations, try to assign them based on this polls that you did or this assessment that you did based on what they like, what makes them tick, what makes them passionate. So I have students, like I mentioned, you know, in the past, that we're passionate about design, or we're passionate about ancient weapons, or passionate about video games. Hey man, how about you tell us how you pass, you know, the level 27 of Medal of Honor, you know, part 52, whatever, you know. And you know, never underestimate the capacity that students have. I play video games, and sometimes, you know, very rarely, and I will get to a point where I can't pass a screen, I'll get frustrated and I'll stop. I've seen students, you know, spend 3-4 days going through forums, speaking to friends, having chats, looking at different, you know, tutorials and this and that, and they will find a way to pass that screen. So the key word here is motivation. You get them to first talk about what they like and what they're passionate about and what makes them tick, just to get them into that, you know, mood of sharing and talking and basically, you know what I mean, becoming less self-conscious about what they're talking about. And then you move them, you know, very slowly into the dark side of the force, meaning the subject matter that you want them to talk about, and it'll work wonderful. I guarantee it.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Daniel. Sorry I connected late today, so that's why I lost a lot of information from today. And if there's a way I would be able to get some of this information on how to motivate students, it would be great. Thank you very much.
Yes. Okay, Richard, nice to meet you again. My name is James Bonilla, and let me show you again, to access our past webinars. Yes, sorry, wrong share. To access our webinars, all you need to do is you go to YouTube, okay, Richard? And once you're in YouTube, you want to look for a channel called Global TEFL, which is this one right here, okay? If you notice, some of my webinars are already here. Go straight to Global TEFL, and
there they are.
This one in particular would be good for you, which is
The important
teaching
thing is
different.
that
Sorry,
we need to.
I mean, I can never get this guy to shut up. Okay, teaching different levels and age groups online is the one that you want to look for, Richard. And here, you know, I give a very in-depth explanation on how to deal with different age groups, including teenagers. That's one. The other one that I would recommend for you to look into would be this one. Speaking skills and error correction online is another one of your webinars, and this one was done very recently, actually. Okay? So this one we're also going to talk about, you know, how to get students speaking and this and that from different ages and from different activities. Okay. So again, go to YouTube, Global TEFL, find our channel, and you find our webinars. This one will also be uploaded, I mean, within a week or so.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, James. I appreciate it.
Not a problem. By the way, last week's webinar was lost in the cloud. There were technical problems. We lost the recording. So I'm going to be doing an encore with people that did not attend that webinar. Don't worry. So when you finally see the recording of that webinar, you will see the webinar, but you won't see yourselves. I mean, you'll see a different audience. But we're sort of like scheduling it so that we can do it again and we can upload it again. It's a shame because the particular, final session was super cool. But I mean, these things happen. It's technology. We already contacted Zoom. We were like, what happened? I mean, because these things are recorded on a cloud and then we have to download them. So what I'm doing right now is I'm recording both on the cloud and on my PC, just for safekeeping. All right. So in case you're wondering, in a couple of weeks, what happened to the one about, content curation? We will put it up there. It would just be, version 2, I guess. Okay.
James?
Yes, Mel.
Is next week going to be about narration?
I believe so.
Remember you were saying, because I was saying I've got to look for that material I was looking for, and I said, I have a week.
Yes, I think that next week is going to be about precisely that. Is going to be on how to create a lesson plan around a story. But let me look into my agenda over here, please, because I know I have 5 different topics coming up, and if you bear with me for just 1 second, or 2 or 3, and you're very patient while I'm over here trying to buy time while I look into my agenda. Okay. Very quickly. And still looking for it. Oh, yes. Okay. While I look for this, let's move on to the next question. That way we don't waste too much time and I don't have you guys sitting just there waiting for this. Okay?
Hi.
Yes, go on. Mark.
Can you hear me? Yeah. I don't know if I'm supposed to put my hand up in here or I don't know how this works, but I'll just talk anyway. I'm a complete newbie. I haven't started any teaching at all, but I passed my TEFL 3 months ago. So I'm right at the bottom of the ladder, so to speak. I wanted to know if you could give me any advice on how to get started in terms of how to put myself out there, how to get my first students, and also what would you recommend as the best teaching materials that I could use, initially to begin with. I know I was at your webinar last week, and I've got a lot of information there, which was really useful. But I'm kind of like want to know what is the best thing to use initially,
Okay, we have a webinar that we did on teaching online and all the different companies that you can work for and this and that. But to make it easier for you, let me show you a cool little resource that we have. So you can put yourself out there, as you said. Let me share my screen very quickly. Now, on our webpage, the webpage that you access to do our course, right? What you want to look for is you want to look for the TEFL Jobs tab, okay? Are you seeing this, Mark?
Yeah, I see that, yep.
And then what you want to do is you want to go to where it says Teaching English Online List, not TEFL Job List, this one, Teaching English Online List.
Yep.
Here, you're going to have a complete list of all the companies that are looking for teachers right now, all over the world, with the qualifications that they require and what they offer and what not.
Mm-hmm.
We actually took the time to put this list together for you guys a few months ago. So the best way to get started is you can surf to this. You got North American companies, you have British companies, you have Russian companies, you have Spanish companies, other European companies, and so on and so after. This is in terms of looking for a company to work for, okay? That's one. The other one recommendation for me, for you to go to, would be go to YouTube, find our channel, Global TEFL. And there is one webinar that would be particularly good for you, which would be this one. more or less hours, which is the Teaching Online free webinar on the hands-on lesson, how to create your classroom, how to create your background, how to use props, how to use different tools to, get started, on your teaching online profession. So these are the two things that you need to start, okay? So again, you can watch this webinar. It will give you a lot of cool tools. And you can also look through our list. You can also contact our jobs department, which is over here on the main menu. We have a jobs coordinator that is actually there, right, to help you, with whatever it is that you need. Or you can contact me directly on my email, and I'll send you some information, some more specific information, that you may find helpful or useful to get you started. Like I said, we're here for graduates. Whatever you need, all you need to do is reach out.
From like a personal point of view, can you offer me some advice of when you first started teaching? There's like 2 or 3 things which you thought, oh wow, if I'd have known about that before, or okay, I did this, which really helped me.
Sure. My first recommendation to you is be yourself. With the same, you're being very spontaneous right now, and you're being very relaxed and this and that. And this is what you want to do with students. Be yourself. Okay? You sound good to me. You sound perfect. Make sure that you let students know that you care about what you're doing. Make sure that you show passion for what you're doing. And most importantly, be prepared. Prepare your classes very thoroughly, especially if you lack experience. Okay? I've been doing this for 26 years, Mark. And believe me, I was up until 3 in the morning last night, doing the final touches of this presentation. Why? Because if I don't, believe me, everybody will be able to tell.
Yeah.
And if you can see that I'm improvising and that I'm not preparing this thoroughly, and people will not be engaged because people will feel disrespected. And that's how students feel. We all have to get started someplace. We all have to get started somehow. My best recommendation for you is those 3 things. Preparation, very thorough preparation. Sometimes if you need to practice, I do this before my conferences or before my classes or before some of my webinars that I might not feel, too knowledgeable about or too comfortable about. Then I actually, reach out to a couple of friends over a couple of beers online, whatever, and have them listen to me and give me, positive feedback.
Right.
Record yourself. I actually watch my webinars, not because I have some narcissist thing going on, but because, I detect, little mistakes that I have made. And in every single webinar, I always find something. I say, oh my God, why did I do that? Did I have that on my tooth? No, just kidding. But these are the things that would basically get you started the best.
Yeah. Well, one of the things which when I first started doing the course, I realized how little I really knew about my own language.
Oh yeah.
Because when I was learning English back in the day, I didn't learn as an English person. You don't learn in the same way that I would be teaching, because you just learn how to speak, how to read, but you don't learn about all the different rules and all about the phonemes and this and that, so many different things, which is like, so I'm thinking when I'm going to teach the language the way that I'm supposed to teach, I'm still not 100% knowledgeable about what I'm teaching. Do you know what I mean? So
I know what you mean, because you'll never be 100% knowledgeable. 20 years from now, you won't feel the same. You'll feel bored. Because the more you dig into this, the more you realize that like the Greek philosopher, I only know that I know nothing.
Yeah.
But that's the cool thing. That's always keep that attitude and you'll be fine. Always keep that humble attitude of I don't know everything. I always keep that in mind, saying that I need to learn more. I said this before, and I cannot enforce it enough by saying anybody who strives to teach can never stop learning.
Yeah.
So Mark, don't feel bad.
One thing with me, you can be sure I will make sure my students feel like they do know English, because they'll listen to me and they'll be like, well, we know more than him.
Well, it happens, and if students correct you sometimes, and if you make mistakes, especially for a dyslexic guy like me, you can only imagine, and Lisel knows what I'm talking about, you can only imagine the kind of mistakes that I make on the whiteboard sometimes when I'm writing. because I'm thinking at a certain speed, my hand doesn't respond, and being dyslexic, I have a tendency to jump over the board. So I told my students straight up, I said, look guys, I'm dyslexic, you're going to see me make a lot of mistakes on the board, let me know.
Yeah.
And that actually creates a very good rapport.
Right. That's
Letting
a
your
good idea.
students know that you're human, that you're not the master of disaster, that you don't actually levitate into the classroom. I mean, you need to have some authority, and that's where preparation comes in, but you also need to connect with them at a human level, and you'll be fine.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Thank you for that. Natalie, I was waiting for you.
Hi, James. Are you well?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Thanks. Doing great. Thank you. My question is back to the topic of today, which is about assessment. Yep. In an average class of 60 minutes, how many assessment type of activities would you do? I mean, would you recommend you have an assessment in every class, or these little quizzes? I'm just thinking back to my lesson plan. I didn't have any assessment in there. But if you were teaching a 45 or a 60-minute class, how many opportunities for assessment would you build in there?
Well, I'm constantly assessing my students by simple observation. When I do the warm-up, I assess, their basically mental and emotional state. When I do the introduction, based on the reactions, when I introduce, the subject matter, then I assess their level of interest on the subject matter. When I do the presentation, which I always do in context, whether I do, an anecdote or some video or whatnot, I'm also assessing, whether students are getting engaged or understanding. So after I do the initial explanation of the structure or whatnot, and I elicit answers, because you always need to elicit answers from the students, I'm also assessing how much they're understanding. During the practice, on structure, structure, semi-structure, and unstructured, sections of my lesson or of my lesson plan, I'm also going to assess, because I'm observing, even though I have students working, individually or independently, I'm listening, I'm observing. Like what we do in the rooms, when we do the breakout rooms, like we did, on one of the last webinars, I'm also observing students. So a lot of the assessment is informal, but it's always there, it's ongoing, it's constantly there. And what I like to do at the end of any lesson is to do some form of formal assessment, so to speak, but to determine whether students were able to achieve the learning objective for that day. So if my learning objective was students will be able to describe past activities through the use of the simple past, well, at the end of the class, I'll be like, so Natalie, tell us again what you did last weekend. As simple as that. It doesn't necessarily have to be a written assessment. So just by means of observation.
Do you have to give them feedback?
Oh, yes, of course.
Feedback?
Well, it can be in many different ways. It can be right there and then, but it cannot be invasive or negative feedback.
Right.
Right. If I say, Natalie, what did you do last weekend? Oh, James, I go to the farm and I play with animals. Oh, so you went to the farm. That's so cool. So did you go or you went to the farm? Oh, I went to the farm. That's so awesome. And you played with the animals, right? You played with the animals. Oh, yes. Okay, so Natalie, remember that we're talking about past, okay? So we need to, use the structures in past. Simple feedback like that. But nothing too aggressive, nothing too invasive, nothing like, no, like we said before, stop it. No, wait. Very nicely and very gently. Okay? Natalie, does that answer your question? Yes? Mel, you too? Okay, cool. Okay. We still have about 5 minutes. Who would like to, basically wrap up or continue? Some of my regulars have been very quiet today.
I actually do have another question. I was just thinking about when you wrap up a class.
Yes.
When you end a class. And I guess it's a sort of the feedback you give them about how they were, but feedback for everybody on how the lesson was, or how the energy was, or what your feel. How is the class at the end? I'm talking about it in a general feeling. Like, do you have a formal way you like to end the class?
No, not really. I give an opportunity maybe for my students to give some observations or share at the end, like we always do in these webinars.
Right.
I always thank my
Right.
students, independent, even if they were zombies for the whole presentation, even though they were like, brain. I would still say, all right, guys, great energy, great job today, this and that, because nobody wants to hear anything negative. Nobody wants to hear like, well, guys, I mean, did you drink coffee this morning? Well, what's wrong with you? Or are you brain dead? I mean, are you being invaded by, some aliens that zombified you? No. So it doesn't matter, how it went, or it doesn't matter what kind of energy there was in there. Remember the Pygmalion effect that we discussed? It's all about your attitude, and it's all about what you project. So always be enthusiastic, and that will, catch the students. And every time at the end of the class, I think that I know that my audiences are engaged or my students are engaged because nobody's waiting for the bell.
Right.
Like right now, I don't see anybody waiting, looking at their watches and saying, okay, James, shut the hell up. It's already 10:30. Again, that's when you know that you're doing a good job. And that's when you know that everything is going well. When people don't even realize that it's over. When people are not, like ready to stampede and run for the hills, Oh God, I survived another hour and a half with this guy. My God. Okay. So me, I'm a cheerful guy, and I like to use a little bit of humor. I like to make people laugh and make people smile, and that's my style. But everybody has a different style. The important thing is that yes.
I'm thinking about one student I had. It was very interesting. I'm sorry, he was a typical boy. I'm a girl. I went to girls' school, so
Okay.
It was very interesting. He was acting up and acting up and acting up, and then, but he knew what was going on, because when he decided he was going to participate, he was right in on the money. He was right there, and so it was great. It was truly great. But when you're talking with, let's say, his parents or the school, who doesn't appreciate, I'm assuming the worst of them, that they don't appreciate somebody who's stepping outside the lines a little bit to get to where he needs to go. How do you deal with that?
Remember that we spoke about how do porcupines mate?
How do what?
How do porcupines reproduce? How do they mate?
Oh, right.
Very gently and very carefully.
Right.
So that's how you deal with these situations in a very diplomatic way, and sort of like measuring the situation and trying to understand people without imposing your point of view. So that's always my favorite answer, very gently. Well, you do have that charm, and use that charm, speak to people the way it is and tell them, okay, listen, I may have a different point of view, whatnot, and this and that. Okay.
Because he ended up being great. I mean, it wasn't without his rough spots and all that. But he was there. He was there, even though he was trying not to be, or whatever he was doing in his head. I don't know what he was trying to do.
Well, you must have done something right, because you click the right button. And once you find that button on a student that makes him go, keep on clicking that button. And then you'll be surprised. I mean, some of these naughty students or hyperactive students can turn out to be the best of the litter, if you may. Okay, one last one. Nope. Yes, Karen.
Sorry, I have my daughter behind me, so she starts making noise.
Not a problem. Hi.
No, I just have a little question. The thing is that I have a student that she's 9 years old, and she's always like telling her mom, I'm not learning anything, but she loves to come for the classes. So I don't know if I should tell her mom. Like, she literally, like, I'm like, what's your name? And she's like, but I know she's learning little by little, but she just, she's just kind of like, she just loves to come to the classes. But then if I ask her the next day, okay, so what did we learn yesterday? She's like, I don't know. And so I don't know if I should tell her mom that she's like wasting her money by sending her to English classes. She wants to continue with the classes, but I feel like she isn't learning anything, that she's just coming because it's fun, but she isn't like progressing, or I don't know what to do with her, because her mom wants to keep sending her, even though she tells her mom, I don't remember anything, you know? And I don't know if she's kidding. Like one time I asked her, I was like, okay, you know, you're gonna have to stop coming to classes if you don't remember anything I'm teaching you. You're wasting my time and your mom's money. And then I'm like, okay, so what's this? And she's like, window. What's that? Couch. What's that? And I was like, oh my God, you do know these things. You just, you know, say you don't. But so I don't know what to do with her because she's like,
she's just doing she's doing what kids love to do, and she's giving you a hard time, and that's always fun. The key with kids is be very, very, very clear, okay, when it comes to introducing the learning objective. Okay, guys, today you're going to learn how to say your name and how to talk about your family members, okay, and uncle, aunt, this and that. Then make sure that you do activities that are interactive. Is she a private student or you have her with other students?
No, all my students are private.
So this is a one-on-one situation, right?
Yes.
All right, very good. So make sure that all of the activities that you do with her are the activities that you would do with your daughter. How old is your daughter? I'm sorry.
My daughter's 5.
5, okay. Now, you play with your daughter. I play with my kids. I play with my daughter and I play with my son who's about to show up here and destroy, you know, this whole webinar and my little terror. And then I always ask myself, what are the activities that my son enjoys the most?
Mm-hmm.
And I get to know him. And there are things that he doesn't like to do and that he likes to do. Start basically finding what makes this little girl tick.
Mm-hmm.
Cartoons, is it video games, is it songs, is it particular games, is it particular activities? Move away from the academics, move away from the standard academics, from the what's your name, what's your name. Try to go into the, well, tell me about your favorite show on TV. Tell me about your favorite cartoon. Let's watch your favorite cartoon. Who's that? Oh, that's Barney, which I consider hideous because I hate Barney. And who's that? You know, I mean, that's whatever. Yeah, there you go, Mel. Okay. So what you need to do is you need to basically explore, you know, other venues on how to reach and how to get this little kid engaged. Okay.
Yeah.
Not so formally, and stay away from comments like "you're wasting my time" and "you're wasting your mommy's time," because that will automatically like shut her, you know, shut her down.
That's the funny part because that's when she finally started telling me things in English. Because I was like, I tried everything with her, and she loves coming to the classes because I know what makes her tick. I know what's interesting for her. My classes are really fun. My students love me, and they never want to finish the class. But the thing is, like, okay, so she's like, but she'll be like, oh no, I didn't learn anything, la la la. And so when I told her that about you know what, your sister came to classes with me and now she's speaking perfect English. Her sister is 15 and she started classes with me 3 years ago, and now I can talk to her in English the whole conversation, and that's because she put her part in it. And that's what I told her, the little girl. I was like, your sister really made her effort to learn, and she wasn't wasting her time. So you come here and you're having fun and you like all the activities we do together. She loves them. She loves her classes, or else she wouldn't continue coming because she's the kind of kid that's very strong personality. Yes.
Well, talk to her mom or to her dad, whoever you know you're in touch with. Tell them exactly what you told me and ask them for permission to record the class.
Okay.
And that way you'll have evidence of what you're saying or what you're claiming. So when the kid says, Mommy, you know, I'm not really having fun with class or I'm not learning anything, you can show the mom and say, look, she's having a blast. She's giving me the names of everything and this and that.
No, it's because she doesn't say that. She says that she likes the classes, but that she's not learning anything.
Yeah, but then
like
again,
she doesn't, that she doesn't remember
wonder,
anything afterwards.
That's like me.
If some of it is self-reporting. I mean, sometimes she may not think so. You know, she may have a different idea of what learning means. I mean, you know, we all think all kinds of things. We have all our definitions and what's okay and what's not.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Well, Karen, remember that the expert that can do the assessment of whether she's learning or not is you, not the little girl. That's like if I tell my doctor I'm feeling better and he says, you're so sick, man. Or I'm feeling like crap and doctor says, well, actually, you're just fine. Same concept, and this is something that you also have to explain to parents. You know, students don't know any better. They cannot determine whether they're learning or not. I mean, you want to make them aware that they are learning. You want to make them, you know, conscientious that they are actually getting something out of the process. Just the fact of having fun, just the fact of enjoying herself. This is a big plus for a kid right now because anything fun is a didactic and learning experience for a kid. And when it comes to explaining to the parents, then you basically tell them, look, I mean, she may think that she's not learning, but she is because of this and this and that, and because I point to the things and she tells me the names and whatnot, and this and that. And this is something very common with kids. More.
Yeah. Well, I guess sometimes I feel like she isn't learning because like that time when I like pressured her, then she started telling me everything and she was laughing while she's telling me everything. Because the day before I asked her the same thing and she's like, I don't know. And so I was like, listen, this is what's going on and we're going to have to stop the classes because if you're wasting my time and your time, it's because I was like already to the limit, you know, because she was like blatantly saying, I'm not learning anything. But she's like, she wants to continue coming to the classes. So her grandma, she's like, oh, well, I don't know. Every time I pick her up, she's like, so what did you learn? And she's like, oh, nothing, you know? So, but she keeps on coming, you know? So I feel like, okay, so am I wasting my time, you know? Because I actually have a lista de espera since you're Colombian.
Right.
You understand?
A waiting list.
You know,
but
the waiting list.
Don't let her push your buttons. Students love to push your buttons, especially kids. They love to push and poke and see what bothers you, and see what gets you out of balance. And once you show them, you know, an emotion that they're getting somewhere, they will continue. And that's why she was laughing. She was like, I got you.
Exactly.
And I'm not saying that
So
I'm not saying that children are evil. It's not an evil thing. It's just human nature. You know, my son will chase me all day, you with a, I don't know, plastic baseball bat. He will try to run over my feet, you know, with his little toy car, just to make me scream, and then he'll be like, because, you know what I mean? It's just the way they are. They're kids.
Yeah.
They're a little bit mischievous. They love to push your buttons. Don't let her. That's the key.
Okay, so I don't give up on her.
Don't give up on any student, ever.
Okay.
And don't let her get to you emotionally in a negative sense.
Yeah, no, she doesn't really get to me in a negative sense. It's just more like, oh my God, am I doing something here? Are we doing?
No.
Are we changing?
The key to our profession is patience, and more patience, and then a little bit more patience, and then over that with more patience. Persevere.
Okay.
I mean, you know what I'm talking about.
It's true.
Okay, guys. So now I'm going to wrap it up. I don't want to keep you around any longer than I should. Thank you very much once again for attending.
Thank you. Oh, and is next week narration?
No, next week is going to be, 1 second, I just had it on me. Okay, next week is going to be an inductive approach to teaching grammar online.
Oh, cool.
So I'm going to teach you guys the art of teaching without teaching. So like Bruce Lee used to say, the art of fighting without fighting. So how to teach grammar without all the grammar rules and without all the boring stuff, and how to basically teach students without knowing that they're actually learning grammar. And 15 days from now, I will be doing a webinar on creating online lessons around short stories.
Cool.
Which is the one that you're looking for. But both topics are going to be really cool. Feel free to invite, you know, fellow teachers to these webinars. These webinars are not exclusively for our former graduates. If you have teachers or if you have people that you feel could benefit from watching these things or from learning, that's what we're all about. I mean, we do have a capacity for 100 people in these webinars. Normally we have about 38, 40, 42, mostly regulars. So if you want to invite people and share the link, by all means, do so.
Great. Thank you.
Stay safe and have a
You
wonderful
too.
weekend, and I will see you in a week.
Yes.
Bye-bye. Bye, Liselle.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Natalie. Bye, guys.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, James.
Bye. Great seeing you guys again. Bye-bye.
Thank you, James.
Thank you,
Stay
James.
safe.
My pleasure. Stay
Thanks,
safe.
James.
You're very welcome.